Apa Cita Gang? Apa kabar? Kabar baikkah korang semua ini? I hope that you're all doing great. It is a nice little Saturday evening right here, and the reason I'm doing this live stream is cause I actually want to do like a little bit of writing right here. Oh gosh, okay. The volume needs to actually like shut up for a quick bit. Oh my God. Okay, stop, 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 stop. Damn it. Why are you doing this? Sorry, one sec. All right, I think that's better. Sorry. I hope that you are all good. Nobody just casually ran off, I hope. But anyway, yeah, so today, a fun topic to talk about. I think it's worthwhile explaining. But yeah, I'm sure that all of you have seen one of these, like at some point in your lives. And I do look at this like once in a while. The whole reason I am looking at this at the moment is because I am trying to actually write a little bit of a piece. And it's called Why Malaysians Don't Speak Malay. And why do I say Malaysians actually? Well, it's because like it's not just your standard issue Chinese people or like Indian people yang tak cakap Melayu kan. Sebab kalau you memang adalah budak Klang Valley kan. So kalau you pergi ke macam sekolah international antarabangsa kan. So ada banyak je budak yang memang tak boleh nak cakap BM. Itu adalah realitinya. Itu adalah hakikat. It's reality. It's a fact, right? Like look, I mean, kalau you tengok kan, so like here's a really famous thread actually that came up a while ago, and like this is not the only one, right? Like this is from a mom who basically talked about how she couldn't actually get her kid to learn any Malay whatsoever. Like you can see right here that she's like actually trying. She's trying to get exposure for her kid. And you can actually see that there's a lot of people who are like facing this exact problem right now. Look at this. Anybody know who this is? By the way, like who's out there at the moment? Give me a shout out. What up, chat? Yeah, so this is what we've got right here. Yeah, so like who is hanging out at the moment? So give me a shout out. But anyway, yeah, you can see right here actually like this particular person right here. It's not a normal person. I don't know if you know who this person is, but like yeah, for those of you who are kind of like unfamiliar, this is actually a certain relative of a certain former prime minister. Boom. This kid right over here. Well, I shouldn't say this kid. I mean, like, he's Tun, right? So, like, you shouldn't be, like, disrespectful or anything. But anyway, so that right there is Tun M's granddaughter, and that is Tun M. Okay. And so she is saying that she grew up speaking English to every single person around her, and she's honestly so embarrassed at how terrible and unnatural her BM is growing up. This was a product of her environment, one that she had little control and input in. Funny, right? But of course, you know, like she is kind of famous for a couple of different things. And if you actually watch my channel, then you probably know that I made a video a long time ago that's called Even Mahathir's Granddaughter is Not Safe. There you go. So like that's a fun video. You can go ahead and watch it if you happen to be free. But it's about like the whole celebration of Christmas thing. They live very, very different lives from a lot of us out there. But anyway, so yeah, let's go right ahead, and I'm just gonna go ahead and write a piece. I have a couple of points here which I'm gonna go right ahead and make use of. And I'll be using Whisper Flow. If you're interested in using that software as well, then you can go ahead and actually have a look at it a little bit later on. Link is in the description. Anyway, so why don't Malaysians speak Malay? Great. Let's begin. Several days ago, at the opening of the 15th session of the Malaysian Parliament, our young Dipertuan Agong gave an important ultimatum, one that serves as a reminder for all Malaysian citizens even today. All right. Yang Dipertuan is not Yang Deputy Agong. Yang Dipertuan Agong. Thank you. I appreciate you. So, one that serves as a reminder for all Malaysian citizens even today. Let me guess, like you are unhappy because I'm talking about why a lot of Malaysians don't actually want to speak Malay. You could be part of the problem. Anyway, so what do we have right here? I need to actually find that like speech for a quick moment right here. Lebih baik jangan duduk Malaysia. So what do we have right here? Kalau tak terima bahasa Melayu, lebih baik jangan duduk Malaysia. Sebenarnya saya setuju. Kalau you memang orang Malaysia kan. So kalau you memang tak boleh nak cakap diam. So saya rasa pelik lah. Macam mungkin you tak bergaul, you tak pergi sekolah ke, you tak pergi pesan makanan daripada warung ke, like kedai roti canai ke, like that's just what it is. I don't know. But yeah, so a bit of a shout out right here to Greenleaf 2481. Welcome, welcome, selamat datang. Yeah, so we're talking about why don't Malaysians speak Malay? So yo sup ni hao. Okay, that's you have English right here, and then you have also some Chinese, and there is no Malay whatsoever. But yeah, just like show of hands, by the way, and I think I'm probably gonna use like a poll as well. So like, okay, speak Malay on a daily basis, or you consistently use it as your master language? All right, so like it's just gonna be yes or no. So go ahead and put in your votes right here, and yeah, let's see. You use it as your master language. Okay, so I'm gonna continue writing for a quick bit. So let's see. In his speech, he said, "Kalau tak terima bahasa Melayu, lebih baik jangan duduk di Malaysia." And at that time, he was pointing to the fact that the Malay language is the national language of Malaysia. It's not something that Malaysian citizens should reject because it is an integral part of their identities. Oh, you cakap Melayu ke? Oh, bagus, bagus. Nick Fadli. Apa cerita? Okay, let's see. We have some comments right over here. We also play, search, and do stuff with English way better than Melayu. Tapi, yang kalau you cakap yang you play, search, and do stuff with English way better than Melayu, saya rasa bukannya semua orang yang macam tu kan. Sebab kalau you tengok internet di Malaysia pun kan. So, barangkali kalau you tengok TikTok kan. So, the majority of the people that you see who are from Malaysia are going to be speaking in Malay actually. So then kalau you fikir kan pasal kita punya channel dan juga apa experience sekarang kan. So nama ataupun istilah yang baik untuk menjelaskan apa yang merupakan apa ekosistem media dalam mana channel YouTube ni brother adalah echo chamber. Okay, so like I speak English most of the time, and if you think about it, actually, right, So the media ecosystem in Malaysia, and of course we have a visitor from Singapore here. Welcome and thank you for joining in on this live stream. Um, you actually will see, right, that like if you go to English media, then if you go over to like Malay media, and then you go over to like Chinese media, you're gonna see different people, different groups of people, right? Like completely tuned out and like just in their own worlds. That is basically what it is. Kan? So if you actually think about it, like you are going to just see, right, that like if you think everyone is going to be like speaking in English all the while, you're probably wrong. You're probably wrong, right? Like some people are literally just going to be thinking like, oh, everybody in Malaysia speaks Malay all the time. They assume that, right? So that is what it is. Oh wow. Okay, I just realized that the Singaporean who is like contributing so much in the chat right now is the person who said the content was lame at the start. Okay, maybe you're a tsundere. I don't know. But anyway, what do we have right over here? Moriarty. Okay, so I use all three BM in most cases. BC to Chinese people and English to foreigners. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So sometimes actually you see, right, that Malay actually serves as a lingua franca almost, which is kind of nice actually. I think like there's that one movie, right? Like Sepet, where like an Indian girl and then like a Chinese boy, I can't remember exactly, where like they couldn't speak any English whatsoever, and then they just like spoke Malay all the way, which is kind of interesting because Yasmin Ahmad's master language was probably English if you think about it. So kind of interesting to think about. Anyway, so yeah, I see it's nice that a lot of you actually do speak like Malay on a sort of like day-to-day basis. But I don't know if like it's a master language. I don't know if it's a master language. You know what I mean by master language? When I say like master language, I mean like bahasa yang you gunakan untuk bercakap setiap hari pada setiap masa dengan semua orang, tak kira apa jua keadaan, tak kira kerja ke, kat sekolah ke, kat mana-mana saja pun you guna BM untuk belajar, untuk fikir, untuk menggunakan perkataan-perkataan untuk meluahkan perasaan engkau. You know what I mean? So like not everybody can do that in BM, right? Like, not everybody will do that in BM. But again, right? So, for those of you who weren't here at the start, I am talking about how a lot of people actually, right, do not have the ability to speak in Malay. And I'm saying Malaysians, right? Kenapa orang Malaysia tak guna BM? It's not Malays, right? It's like actually Malaysians. Sebab diorang tak kena expose. Sebab diorang ada kesusahan untuk biarkan diorang punya anak belajar BM. Diorang masa dah kaya, kan? So, diorang nak education ataupun pendidikan yang lebih baik untuk anak diorang. They want a better education for their kids, so they send them to like all these like high quality international schools kind of thing. And Anwar did make it so that like all of these schools, right? Like you have to study BM at the moment, but like it's a open question whether that is actually really going to help, or people are just going to go and avoid that all the way. Who knows? But I have friends, right, who are Malay. I know, shocker, right? Some of you might be thinking like, oh, this guy's like public enemy number one. No, like I actually have Malay friends, and quite a lot of them for that matter. But my Malay friends, right? So they say to me that their own kids that they have in their homes, 5 years old, 6 years old, cuba nak suruh dia orang cakap BM, tapi akhirnya gagal. Why? He only speaks English. And the last time I heard about that was actually at my, friend's wedding, also a Malay wedding. And yeah, so this particular friend, right, was like saying to my other friend, it's very hard, lah. Actually, it's very hard. It's very hard, lah, bro. Like, it's so hard to get them to speak Malay. It's so hard to get them to speak Malay. And we're talking about the Malay community here. We're not even talking about like Chinese people at the moment. So it's hard. Yeah. What's up, everyone? So welcome, welcome, welcome. Ya, kalau dah respect bahasa rasmi, aku faham Nick Fadli. Tapi yang if you want it actually to be something that people use all the time, then I think that it's not that easy. Bro, no Sheena. I thought that you were so I don't know, like I thought that you just had like a negative impression. You were like, oh my gosh, it's lame. But like now you're engaging all the while. That's crazy. I don't know. But you're a Singaporean and you're living in Japan. It's like, bro, like you're not even part of Malaysian society, but you're so fascinated by us. Okay, cool. I mean, like maybe you're a student of sociology or something. Yeah, I don't know. But we can see right here that the results of the poll are kind of coming in, and yeah, so we have like no 67%, no 70%, and yeah, this is kind of interesting. 64% of you do not speak Malay on a daily basis. You do not consistently use it as your master language. 36% of you do. Okay, so like I do have Malay audience here. Bagus, bagus, bagus. Kalian terima kasih. Kalau aku cakap BM, korang semua faham tak? Saya rasa kalau korang tak faham, I'm sorry, but like not sorry sebab memang dalam live stream ni, so aku akan guna both BM and English as most Malaysians will. So if you want, then you can later on like cuba nak transcribe ke, you boleh download ke, lepas tu you boleh baca lah dengan slow sekali. So yeah, so I'm seeing actually that a lot of you actually just don't really use Malay on a day-to-day basis. And I think that that's kind of a problem. But let me tell you why. Let me tell you why, right? Like, I think a lot of people actually don't use it all the while. So yang saya rasa kan, it is convenient to use English. Betul? So, khususnya kalau you duduk kat Klang Valley kan. So, you pergi kedai mana-mana pun, kalau you ada accent yang pelat kan. So, you cakap dengan si master dalam kedai tu. So, dia orang akan cakap dengan you dalam bahasa Inggeris. You cakap BM, lepas tu dia orang cakap bahasa Inggeris. So, then the question is, how can you actually practice? So, itulah macam cucu Tun N. Dia memang nak cakap BM, tapi masa semua orang nak cakap dengan dia, dia orang akan cakap dalam BI. You tahu tak? Like that is exactly what it is. And it's actually kind of sad as well. Cause you know, it can actually go like a bad direction, a bad way. Like people actually just don't want to speak to you in actual Malay. They only want to speak to you in English. And of course, we're not even talking about the racists just yet. But anyway, we're going to continue. So, whoa, we have a range of y'all right over here who are saying, oh, okay, so like now we have like what, 50% of you saying that like you use it as your master language. Betul ke? Do I have that many like Malay members of the audience? That's very interesting. But still, if you think about the population of orang Melayu kan, dalam apa negara Malaysia kan. So kalau you nak bilang kan, okay, so anggaplah yang orang Bumi Putra tu semua adalah Melayu. Not true kan? Tapi maksudnya it's about like 70% kan. So if you think about it like as a proportion, right? Kalau kita ada 50-50, so ia maksudnya yang kita ada skew sikit kan. So like maybe this audience is like slightly more Chinese. And I think it's not necessarily because like, oh, you know, like he is Chinese, kan? It's also because of the language. Like we speak English like maybe like 99% of the time, right? And since we speak English 99% of the time, so then like people who come in are more familiar with like the English language. And if you think about it, that sort of like echo chamber, right? It's not so easy to break. Anyway, I'm going to continue. It's not something that that Malaysians should reject because it is an integral part of their identities. But every time I go around Kuala Lumpur, I go around my old stomping grounds, my old schools, and all the different events, both for GLCs and panel discussions, different gatherings involving the prominent people of Malaysia, whether it's the Khazanah Megatrends Forum or other events that are organized around the beautiful city, or perhaps beautifully chaotic city that I call my home, I realized that almost 99% of the events are organized in English. That is a fact, right? Look at this. I don't know how many of y'all have been for Kazana Megatrends, but if you have the chance to attend, it's actually pretty good. Like you have a lot of different like types of intellectual topics that are discussed every year. This country is actually pretty good at organizing events, and I know the guy who actually organizes it every year, so it's pretty cool. I haven't gone for a while though, so like who knows? Maybe that'll happen a little bit later on. Chat, what are you guys saying at the moment? All right. Okay, cool. So you have relatives in Malaysia. And what else do we have right here? Greened leaf. In almost every situation, I use English. Even my Chinese drop to bottom liao. Oi, say. Okay. I'm sorry to hear that, but that is a very unfortunate fact, I would say. Well, I guess if you are like Baba Nyonya, then maybe then it doesn't really matter. I know at least like one guy, right? Like he's a creator who actually loathes the fact that people are forcing him to like speak Chinese all the while because like he's like Baba Nyonya and stuff like that. So like since he's Baba Nyonya, so he maintains that like, oh, you know, if you're forcing me to speak Chinese kind of thing, like that's not part of my heritage, right? Like we spoke Malay and English like from the very time that like we came into Malaysia, which was way earlier than all of you like sing guests, like new arrivals kind of thing. Don't know how many of you know the history of like Chinese people coming to Malaysia, but it's pretty interesting. Starts with the Nyonyas, then later then you have the well sing guests a little bit later on. But anyway, like Nyonyas basically like intermarry with the Malays, and they ended up like speaking English. So it's kind of an interesting plot right there. I realized that almost 99% of the events are organized in English. Even now, when I talk to my friends who were once carefree high schoolers, now the stories that they tell me are of their children. The last time I saw them at a wedding of a mutual friend, one particular conversation stood out. The boy who sat in front of me, Malay, was telling me that he was finding it so difficult to get his kid to speak in Malay. And I just thought about that for a bit and wondered, why would that be so? All right. And let's then go on. Malay is not an unbeautiful language. It has its nuances, it has its interesting curiosities. There are many elegant ways of expressing things in Malay, and it's not a difficult language to learn if a person has the time, intention, and puts effort into using it. Yet, however much we say these things, and however much people like Anwar Ahmad and some of his other compatriots talk about it, somehow there's always this fear out there in the community that whether we like it or we don't, the language, if it is not protected, if it is not safe, then it will die. All right. Now, this is interesting, right? So, a lot of us actually, like, we are kind of like thinking about this issue quite a fair bit. When I say Anwar Ahmad, by the way, I mean like that one academic. I don't know if you guys have ever seen him before, but he's like a famous Malaysian academic. He loves trolling people when it comes to like this question of like the DLP kind of thing. Like he is okay, I don't know if it's actually like this Anwar Ahmad. I think it's actually this one right here, this guy. Oh man, he he just went to the Institute of Education to like learn like a couple of things right here, and then he's like, "Ooh, UCL, interesting." Wow. Well, no comment. Maybe he did actually have like a very significant experience there. But anyway, so like he writes things like this, for example, DLP adalah. Let me see. Do we have it? DLP, 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 da 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 da. Ah, yes. Okay. DLP adalah dasar pendidikan yang salah, blah 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 blah, and it goes on to say, mana jati diri kita, mana. All right. And now you might think to yourself, well, why is he complaining about that? Mana jati diri, kita kan orang Malaysia. And honestly, the reason why it grinds my gears, right, is a very specific reason, right? It seems that people who complain like that are kind of like fundamentally missing out, right, on a very important part of the reason why we use language, right? Like the whole reason I'm using language right now is to like communicate with you guys, right? Like you have like what, like 22 of you on the other side of this discussion right now. And we see that some of y'all have already voted right here, and you say uh you use Malay on a daily basis, you consistently use it as your master language. 57% of you, right? Now, this is not really like a normal number, I would imagine. Unless, of course, I've gotten more Malay audience recently, which is also possible. But again, it doesn't represent the population distribution of people you might expect to be using Malay on a day to day basis. And also the people who are more likely to be using like Chinese, English, etc., etc. So kind of interesting. Moriarty Khan. I'm not reading like every single comment, but like, yes, a lot of Indonesian people are laughing at us. Yeah. So like, interestingly, I learned from a friend the other day that the word Indon apparently is like offensive to Indonesians. Do you know this? I'm not sure if you knew this, but like they say that it's like offensive. They prefer the term Indonesian kind of thing. So like I'm not really going to question it all that much, and I will refer to my Indonesian friends as Indonesians. And yeah, but I do see like some of these people be saying stuff like Malay dash all the while, as if, you know, like you are all, shall we say, the watchers here who are from Malaysia, like you are all part of like some Bangladeshi blah blah blah, right over there. It's kind of interesting. We have a Sarawakian here. Hidup Sarawak. Okay, great. So, anyone who has not voted in the poll just yet, so feel free to vote. Do you consistently use BM or do you not really do that? Anyway, so I'm gonna continue with my little writing right here. Need to finish this in a while because we're going out for dinner. Anyway, the language, okay, if it is not safe, then it will die. This is a very rough draft, by the way. I'm just like literally writing this out, spitballing at the moment, like just creating it all the way. Anwar Ahmad. Okay. In a way, I feel that these sentiments are not totally unjustified. There is no intrinsic reason why Malay cannot be a language of knowledge, why it cannot be a language of commerce, why it cannot be summoned to bring to bear the highest expressions of human nature, success, and attainment in our modern world. And the people who fight for it have a wish, a dream, an aspiration for it to be recognized in that way as an expression of the soul of the country, by extension, the race, by extension, Malay identity. All right, so this is what we have right here. I think that probably a lot of you, like you might have seen Malay friends who might want Malay to be like more a part of their identity. I think that my friends, right, the ones who can't get their kids to speak Malay nowadays, like they are like that, right? Like they actually want their kids to be able to learn their culture, learn their heritage, kind of thing. It's kind of like how actually a lot of like these Chinese families, right? Like they want their kids to learn Chinese, but then they discover along the way, right, that 华语真是很难咯. Like Chinese is very hard, you know. It's not easy. Like I swear, like you see all these kids who go to like vernacular school kind of thing. Like you think that they are very different from you. You think that they cannot like speak any Malay or anything else. Well, you think that they can speak Chinese. I mean, seriously, like so many kids, right? I met who went to like my 百沙罗花小 and for those of you, and you know what, like, okay, so like it's Chinese, right? So I will translate this a little bit later on, but I will say, right? So 我小时去了白小 right? And then 过了15、16、17年，我再遇到我的朋友 right? Then 我发觉了，诶，这么 like 当我们讲话的时候，他会用英语的嘞 translation. So I used to study in a Chinese primary school. It's called SJKC Damansara. 15, 16, 17 years later, after graduation, I come out to these people that I have not seen in a long time, right? We used to speak in Chinese all the time, or at least we thought that we would have to be speaking in Chinese all the time. And then now I come up to them and they are speaking in English. So I don't know, like maybe it's a whole Lee Kuan Yew energy thingamabob right here, as our Sapup Noshina was talking about before. Lee Kuan Yew was extremely practical as a human being. Although I guess part of the whole China like shutting down of Nanyang 大学 is probably in retrospect, right? Maybe actually I don't know if in retrospect it's a bad thing, but at that time, like given the historical situation, it made sense. And yeah, Raynor Rip be saying, okay, every Malaysian should be able to speak Malay, but we shouldn't be required to speak all the time, multiculturalism and all that. Okay, itu aku setuju. Dan sekarang ni, saya akan gunakan dia untuk menitik beratkan kepentingan poin yang telah dilafazkan oleh saudara tu. Ada banyak orang, kan, yang semacam Anwar Ahmad tu, yang menjadi keterlaluan dalam pendekatan mereka tu, dalam usaha nak paksa semua orang cakap diam. Okay. Dan kalau korang dah tengok konten saya untuk sementara ataupun korang datang daripada Facebook ke apa, mungkin you tahu pasal feud aku dengan Randuk. That's right, Randuk. This guy is BACK, Pejuang Bahasa Melayu, Identiti Malaysia sejak 2012, penunggang. Penunggang bahasa. Ya, you tengok lah ni. Sekarang ni, dia baru je dilepaskan kan. Then, dia cakap yang, oh, adrenalinku mengalirlah di kau, meresapi segenap tubuhku. Bangkitkan semangat perjuangan takkan berakhir selagi bernafas. Wah, play victim sangat tu. Oh, ya betul. Oh, sila dermakan duit anda kepada perjuangan kami demi agama, demi bangsa. Tolonglah, sumbangkan duit engkau kepada saya demi kemaslahatan bangsa. Wahai bangsaku, nescaya susulan proses penderaan ini yang aku lalui sebagai nakhoda kapal demi perjuangan bangsa. Wahai, demi pelayaran ini, percayalah aku, demi masa depan dan jati diri kami. You want to see the conversation that we had? Yeah. It's not very pleasant, but this is what it is. Okay, human trash. I'm not gonna speak Malay with you. And if people like you were to be the only advocates for the Malay language, I'm pretty sure it's just gonna die. And we would watch, even as we respect the national language and speak it with our friends, aka not you. Let us sit for a quick bit and like think about this for a quick bit, right? Do you know why I say this? Do you know why I say this? If you don't know why I say this, then maybe you don't know very much about Randuk and everything like that. But yeah, so like if you actually go over to my Facebook profile, so I do have a series of posts about the guy at the moment. Mainly like what I reported at that the relevant time when I was actually in a feud with the guy. But for some reason or another, that particular report, kan, so it actually ended up like pretty popular. It actually ended up like controversial as well. Cause I actually ended up in a conflict with this one guy right here who actually like invited me out, kind of thing. And like I literally got a police officer to call the guy, and like he was like literally jumpa depan, tak tahu lah dia berani ke tak, tengah tunggu ni. So like I literally went and called a police officer to actually go and like call this guy, kind of thing. But you know the interesting thing is that we actually had a pleasant conversation afterwards, so like there was no problem with that, like no issue at all, right? And the conversation was mostly in Malay, no problem, right? Because I think it was kind of like misunderstanding, right? Like we had a very, shall we say, like rough start at the outset, kind of thing. Misunderstand here, there, and everything. And yeah, I was like thinking, okay, so maybe like I was a little bit arrogant, kind of thing. And by the way, right, guys, so like, I know that sometimes I can be arrogant. Like it's a part of my personality. It's just who I am, right? It's how I'm built, right? Like I can't sometimes like turn off that part of myself. I know that like it's something that I want to change, right, in some ways. Tapi like I think it's one of those things that like I have to make enough mistakes to the point that like I can sort of like realize, right, like where I'm on this sort of journey. But my point is gonna stand, right? If you have a person that's like Randuk, who is literally going out there and actually like trying to be a defender of like Malay or the Malay language, kan. So mati pun aku tak nak cakap BM dengan mamat ni. So kalau aku berdepan ataupun bercakap dengan orang ni melalui telefon, kan. So aku akan cakap dalam bahasa Inggeris. Only English for this bugger. And here's why, right? Like, look, like, see, if you look at like the way that this guy like actually talks, right? Like, basically, it's like you have so many different things, right? Here's why we should like make dongzong illegal. Here's what we should do, right? Oh, it's pluralism, secularism, DAPism kind of thing. Like as if like that's an actual like uniform philosophy, bro. Like you think that every single DAP member is the same, bro. It's like the Hadiawang, like DAP kind of thing. Pelacur bahasa kind of thing, bro. Like, and then you see this right here. You don't have a follower again. So he actually genuinely believes that like the figure over here was actually modeled after me. So like Generalissimo John, if for some reason or another you're watching this right now, I'm pretty sure that's not me. I'm pretty sure that's not me. I'm 100% sure that that's not me. Like you think it's me, but it's not me. And then you can see over here, all this arrogance. Like tak payah duduk Malaysia kalau tak terima bahasa Melayu. That kind of thing. And like this is what you have, right? Like you see the capitalization right here? That's a clear provocation, kan? As if you are trying to say, oh, if you are not Malay, then you don't belong here. And here's another example of that, right? So like this bugger was like literally on his Identity Malaysia like TikTok feed, which honestly I think should be banned. And I think that you guys, if you want, right, like what you can do is that you can actually go on MCMC, adwa.mcmc.gov.my. Then you can actually report this particular post right here. So here you have a Malaysian Indian person who said, I'm from Malaysia. I was born here. I studied history, Malacca Paramiswara, the arrival of Islam, colonialism, the formation of Malaysia because of multiple races, blah, blah, blah. So then, like, you actually watch the video. So he is literally, right, in that video talking about how, oh, so like, you tahu tak yang nenek moyangku adalah orang India daripada kasta rendah, blah, 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 kind of thing, right? Which is like, okay, so you can say that that's true, right? But like at the same time, like you might ask yourself, right? Like, why do you need to say that, right? Like, if everybody has a blue IC, I have a blue IC, you have a blue IC, kan? Do we need to raise up this idea that, like, oh, your history is such that you came from here, so and so, that kind of thing? Bro, like, if you really want to talk about it, right? Like, you can also talk about how, like, in Tun M's The Malay Dilemma, right? He doesn't refer to the Malay people as, like, original in the sense that, like, oh, they were the very earliest people in the land. No, he talks about the characteristic people. You can look it up. No, seriously, like, you can actually look it up. Like, he actually says that, like, they are the characteristic peoples, the peoples that form governments with, like, you know, the rest of the world, right? Like, the very first parties with which the envoys of old, right, would actually, like, form diplomatic relations. On that basis, he talks about, like, who is the characteristic people of Malaysia, citing the Malays, right? But in this case right here, it's not actually saying that they are the earliest people on the land. So, like, if you really wanted to, you can go the Lee Kuan Yew way and then say that, oh, actually, so all these people are pendatangs, right? Now, we're not going to do that today. You can decide on whether that's true or not on your own, right? But, like, as a matter of factual accuracy, if you're saying to me that, like, they are the very first arrivals on the land and there was no earlier arrival, that's not true. If you decide that that means, like, oh, they are pendatang, that kind of thing, that's up to you. But I will say that Tun M just said they are the characteristic peoples. That's where we are at the moment. I wonder how that guy is, by the way, because, like, he fell, right? And yeah, anyway. So this is what we have right at the moment. 47% of you say that yang korang ni guna BM setiap hari sebagai bahasa utama. You gunakan BM setiap hari untuk belajar, untuk bekerja, untuk berfikir dan sebagainya lah. So mungkin korang ada awek yang you jumpa setiap hari, you guna BM untuk cakap dengan awek tu. Mungkin korang ada boyfriend, so aku tak tahu lah. So ada tak Minah? Ada tak Minah yang tengok channel aku? Ada tak Minah yang tengok channel aku? Okay, come in the chat. Come in the chat, Minah. Come, datang. Semua Minah dialu-alukan untuk datang ke channel ni. Siapa yang Minah kat sini? I don't know whether you have actually any Minahs. Mungkin tak ada. Tak apa. Okay, so I really need to finish this, but what I'm saying here is, kalau you tengok kan, apa yang terserlah kat sini kan. So ni jelas adalah benda yang menjijikkan, kan? Seolah-olah semua orang tu dipaksa semestinya pada setiap masa, tak kira mana seseorang tu berada, dia kena guna BM. Kerana, why? Sebab ini adalah negara Malaysia. Maka, kalau you tak guna BM, maka itu maksudnya, dah 68 tahun korang berada kat negara ni, korang masih cakap dengan pelat lagi. Hoi, you ingat ni negara mana? Hormat tuan tanah. Ya Tuhan, setiap kali aku tengok orang macam ni, setiap kali aku tengok orang yang seolah-olah nak hina semua orang, termasuk saudara KJ, yang selalu stalk aku kat Instagram. Dan setiap kali aku tengok orang yang seolah-olah nak kami jadi Cina baik, seolah-olah konsep tu bermakna. Sebab orang Cina, orang Melayu tu kan, kita semua individu. Tiada istilah, okay, aku cakap dengan you kan, seolah-olah aku cakap dengan seluruh bangsa. Ada tak kemungkinan yang aku cakap dengan seluruh bangsa, engkau, kalau aku cakap dengan you? Tak. Itu perbualan one to one. I talk to you straight away, kan? So mungkin nama you Muhammad ke Ahmad ke Ahmad. Kalau aku cakap dengan you, kan? Aku cakap, you best lah, brother. Adakah itu bermaksud yang sekarang ni aku sedang cakap yang, semua orang yang mempunyai mata macam kau, kulit macam kau tu adalah sama bagus dengan kau? No, tak. It's a personal compliment from me to you, kan? So, kalau aku tak suka you, aku rasa you malas, aku rasa you bodoh, aku rasa yang you, walaupun you ada otak, mak ayah engkau patut sedih kerana lahirkan engkau dalam dunia ini, dah membesarkan engkau yang seolah-olah macam budak laknat yang bodoh sehingga sekarang ni yang dah tua pun dah jadi bodoh, tak jadi pandai dan sekarang ni meroyan setiap hari. Adakah itu bermaksud aku sedang marahkan semua orang Melayu? Saya rasa tak kan? No, not at all. If you're dumb, then I tell you that you're dumb. I'm not talking about your entire race kan. If you're talking about like siapa yang memang like nak memarahkan kan, like seluruh bangsa dia, mungkin you boleh tengok lah Malay Dilemma. Dalam mana wujudnya istilah yang dipertikaikan sehingga sekarang kan, pasal Melayu malas dalam Malay Dilemma bab 5 ke 6 ke, okay dah lupa, tapi dia memang kat situ. How many of you speak Malay on a daily basis? So here we have like what, like 45 votes. Oh, that escalated a lot. So like you have like no, 56%. That is basically what you have got right over there. Okay, cool. So green leaf. So saya tak kisah apa pasal Melayu, saya suka guna Inggeris. Okay, so I will say this right here. I like using English. It is my master language. But you can see obviously that like the very fact that I can speak Malay in the way that I did just now, right? It means I have mastered Malay to a certain level. I'm able to actually do that sort of thing. But it's not my master language, right? I use English on like a vast majority of different like tasks. I teach English via the SAT. And like, I don't want to show off kind of thing, but like, this is just to illustrate the point. I got a perfect score on like the English section of the SAT. That's like more than 99 percentile, right? Actually, no, like 99 percentile is like the highest. That's why I missed 10 marks on the math section for the SAT. But look, the point is, right, like, my English, I'm extremely, supremely confident in it, right? Like, I'm not going to go out there and then like be thinking to myself, oh, actually, I am dumb. I am inferior to Westerners. No, like, if you beat like literally almost every single Westerner on the planet on this exam, which is for American university entry, you are going to have a certain level of confidence, right? On the English language. That is why it's my master language. Tapi aku rasa, kalau memang seseorang tu, dia tak nak guna BM ke, dia terfikir yang BM tu adalah bahasa yang kurang berguna untuk era ni. Saya rasa itu benda yang amat sedih lah. Sebab walaupun ada kemungkinan yang kalau dalam situasi bekerja kan, so korang mungkin kerja kat MNC ke apa, mungkin korang akan nampak kalau korang ada peluang bahawa semua orang kat GLC kan, so tak kira lah Petronas ke, Khazanah ke, BNM ke, diorang semua cakap English. The most powerful people in the country are using English, and it's been like that ever since like the time of colonial era education. They have been like literally sending their kids to like the highest quality English schools. The poor send their kids to like Malay schools. And this is an actual like fact about like the way that people actually make their educational decisions. And that pattern kind of like repeats today. I'm gonna continue right with my little piece right here. I think I might have gotten like a little bit distracted from that right there. But anyway, so what do we have right here? But the fact is that a lot of people don't use the Malay language on a day-to-day basis because whether it's for direct reasons or for indirect reasons, a little part of them doesn't fully feel the value of speaking in the language, of communicating with their fellow Malay speakers in the Malay language. All right. In our GLCs, you see people of Malay descent every single day. holding the highest positions, speaking in English with their colleagues, with their staff. It is entirely normal to see conversations in English and exclusively in English amongst these elites, some of whom were educated in some of the very best universities in the world before they came back to serve their countries, make their fortunes, and everything else. Of course, when the very same people are then notified that on the point of national identity, they should be speaking in Malay, they may revert to it or go back into that habit of speaking Malay once in a while. But I can tell you for a fact that by and large, the conversation is in English. Now, why is this so? By the way, like, I'm definitely going to edit this like a lot. Like, I'm going to shorten it by a lot, right? Like, you think that it's like long right now, it's going to be a lot shorter a little bit later on. At least partially, it's because all of the developments in finance, in technology, and so many other things are mostly transmitted or transmuted in English. How can you not be using English on a day to day basis when what you work with, what you live with, what produces the knowledge that you have to work with is entirely transmitted, communicated, articulated, and produced in English from its very source? It is with an understanding of this reality that Tun Dr. Mahathir introduced PPSMI from those days when it was pushed through, something that people tried to oppose, but that he insisted, adamant as he was. Even though he remains today that old preserver of Malay identity that he wants to be. You know, it's interesting because like Randuk actually has met this guy a couple of times. I might need to actually go like pretty soon, but like I will show you this thing right here. Identity Malaysia TikTok. This is a Randuk account, right? And yeah, you can see right here from all of the like casual race baiting stuff right here. This is the kind of thing that is very much right, very much a Randuk thing. But basically, he went out and then he met what like identity. He went out and met like Tun Mahathir, right? Who, by the way, introduced like the PPSMI and did all of that stuff right here. That like all these people are basically saying, oh, it's basically like the destruction of the Malay language, that kind of thing, right? Like, yeah, like the guy that you went and met, right? The guy that you're saying that, oh, you know what? We need to go ahead and like protect like our language kind of thing, right? Yeah. So like the guy that you were like giving that presentation to is actually the same guy whose granddaughter that he speaks Malay. I'm sure that she's extremely smart, right? It's just that the exposure, the value, right, proposition, it doesn't actually like come across, right? And like you're saying to him, like, hey, look, we need to like protect this. But bro, like you're calling this like your high achievement. Very interesting. I don't know about that. But now I will say this. But at least partially, it is also because of the people who have been trying to defend it. There seems to me to be a disease or a pandemic involving these people. And maybe you've seen the kind before. The kinds who show up on Facebook or TikTok or otherwise with an infinitude of different names, some of which may include Randuk, Randuk 3.0, Identity Malaysia, and otherwise. Always the same sort. The sorts who insist that you speak in Malay. The ones who, when you speak in Malay, say that you're speaking in Malay the wrong way. The ones who, when you don't speak in Malay, ask you, why don't you have any jati diri? Don't you respect your own country? Don't you respect the fact that we are living in Malaysia? And there they are. always the same people, always the usual suspects, talking about how every single person in this country needs to respect what has been lost from this place. This Jati Diri formed as a little fiction in their imagination, even as they proclaim that they are the true bearers of the national identity. And now we are kind of like moving onward to the end right here. And I can see why this effort often fails. And in saying that, I am saying that it fails. Who in their right mind do you think would go from not speaking Malay to reading posts like that and many others that insult their heritage, their ability to belong, where they came from, and who they were related to from hundreds of years ago, and then automatically and automatically end up wanting to communicate with these kinds of rapscallions? And I say rapscallions, I know I'm like getting old at the moment, but like that's generally what I feel. And then automatically or authentically want to communicate with these kinds of rapscallions. I can think of none. Does it mean that these people are stupid, though, for trying to advertise the Malay language in that way, so harshly, always insinuating that others don't belong? Well, interestingly, I think that the answer to that question is actually no. Why so? It's because they are trying, in fact, to appeal to other people who harbor the same hatred as them of other people, who harbor the same hatred of diversity, who want, in fact, this entire place to be completely Malay speaking all the time, irrespective of the fact that, in fact, the Constitution does say that Malay is the national language, but at the same time also mentions that other languages may be spoken within Malaysia. And here we go. And we go towards the end, right here. But of course, it appeals to people who have little to no exposure to other races to feel that they were always persecuted, they were always offended, that the very fact of diversity that was brought together in a pact between the different races when we together sought independence from the British. Let us see it right here. Was in fact a double act of persecution that ended up depriving them from their true homes, their true cultures, and otherwise. And I think to myself, what a shame that is. We talk quite a lot about how the Malay language is a beautiful language. There's no intrinsic reason why it can't be used as a language of commerce, of knowledge, of, in fact, deeper unity amongst people. But when its advocates and its heroes, the people who are meant to bring the charter forward, are insular in their mindsets and never actually intend on bringing forward the language, but instead on bringing forward division within their own communities for their own personal financial gain and profit, it is hard to see how things could be any other way. And by the way, like if you actually go and look at Randuk's page at the moment, then you can actually see like all the like donation links and everything like that, which is crazy to think about. Anyway, so when I think about the Malay language and the possibility that more people will use it on a day to day basis, I think often of China and Chinese, Korea and the Korean language, and Japan and the Japanese language. It is true, as some of these nationalists say, that there's no intrinsic reason why Malaysia as a country should not be speaking its national language. But there's a natural gravity to language usage. If people find value in communicating with you, then they will speak the language, they will learn it. You do not have to scream from the rooftops about how amazing your language is or what wonders lie within. No, things will happen automatically. People learn Korean because they love the Hallyu wave. They love BTS. They want to watch every single Korean drama out there and make cool TikTok videos in Korean that show how amazing they are and how they are able to speak every single language. The same with Japanese. People love their anime, their culture, and of course, the weeaboos of Akihabara love going over and visiting Japan. And speaking of which, visiting Japan, I heard on a recent excursion to a Mensa meeting, is in fact the national pastime of Singaporeans. People love that place, and so they automatically learn it. Chinese people learn because, well, partially, there are the Mandarin speaking only ads, but also partly because China is an economic superpower. You could argue that maybe it is in the geopolitical grasp of death in a fight with the United States. But depending on who you believe and what you believe, you may see things a very, very different way. But either way, people learn Chinese because they have this belief, whether it is justified or not, that China is great, China is rising, and there is value in getting to know the Chinese. And so when I think of all these examples, of which I am sure there are many more that I have not covered, I just wonder to myself, what about the Malay language? All right, that's a very long paragraph, but we will edit it a little bit later on. Sorry, I can't read every single comment at the moment, but like I will look back at live chat replay later on. I also need to leave like pretty soon, so I need to book a grab in a bit. When I think about how people persuade others to speak the Malay language in this country, I think about how there's all this guilt tripping, all of this hatred that people share out. Maybe part of it is not just gaslighting, and part of it comes from a genuine feeling that culture is dying. Your language is dying. It's clearly not in the heartlands, but you can't find it in the high halls of the elite world. At least, not as a matter of common practice, but rather, oftentimes, as a matter of show in the parliamentary debates that take up such a big part of the day, but even then are a minuscule part of what we actually do experience when we meet our members of parliament, our politicians, those who lead us, and who almost invariably, as I've seen, default then to English outside of their performances. When I think of the Malay language, I ask myself, what is the main value of speaking in it? And the answer then is surely that I may speak with Malay people, I may respect the identity of my fellow compatriots. I enjoy speaking in the Malay language with them. But do I use it in order to further my knowledge or otherwise, not naturally and not without translation. Do I use it to obtain economic opportunity? I theoretically could, but I do not engage in live stream sales, although that is a possibility to be explored at a later time. Do I use it for other purposes in such a way that I could achieve not half of what I am achieving if only I were to speak in the Malay language? I do not think so. And unfortunately, the reality is that for a lot of families, even though they say that it is so important, it is something that they want to emphasize in their day to day lives, in the creation of their identities, it is not for them either. Water always rises to its level, and we can talk a lot about how much we need to bring forward the language. But if its natural uses and the value of communicating in Malay cannot actually be elevated, then regardless of how much rhetoric or how much people say about how the Malay language must be strengthened, empowered, and made into a norm in everyday life, I find it hard to see how it will become the lingua franca, the true lingua franca, yet again, of this place that we call Malaysia. It's not a matter of my desire. It's not a matter of your desire. It's a matter of how people will naturally interact with one another, communicate with one another, and otherwise. And currently, the main way in which people do that is English, with a dash, perhaps, of Chinese. But if we really want people to make use of Malay on a day to day basis, and we want it to be possible that it becomes a powerful world language, then those of us who use Malay on a day to day basis, who employ the language as their master language, had better than well either level up or become nice. Because at the end of the day, in order to create a valuable medium of communication, which is absolutely what a language is, you must be valuable to communicate with. That is inescapable. And one does not become valuable by talking about how everyone needs to respect you, everyone needs to take on your heritage. Just because you are a son of the soil, everyone must take your views into consideration. In this modern age, anybody can become the CEO of a company by the stroke of a pen, register something, and then put a name on it. Congratulations, you're the CEO, you are the leader. But there's always an interesting question in my mind when I think about this whole situation with the language. Are these people leading yachts and cruise boats, or are they actually leading sampans? Well, that is a question to be fully answered another day. But for now, I will say sampans are not very popular amongst people who want to be on cruise ships. And with that in mind, you can think about how and whether the Malay language is likely to become a language of true power if, in fact, the people who are leading the charge are, in fact, people who claim to be leading dreadnoughts and cruise ships when actually all they have is rickety boats with holes in them. And there you go. Okay, guys, Sapoops, thank you for watching. It was a fun time. 60 votes right here. Oh, that's nice. you have right over here. I'm almost late. I need to actually like go like ASAP. But yeah, like you'll probably see like this entire piece right here in some way, shape, or form of another. But yeah, so like you've got like what, like 59 votes, 46% of you say yes, you use Malay on a day-to-day basis, and 54% of you say no. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so like thank you for joining me on my little writing live stream. I don't do this like all of the time right here, but like I figured that it was kind of like a fun little exercise, and maybe you kind of like understand my thought process or the way that I actually make these decisions kind of thing. It's AI only to the extent that I am using AI software in order to transcribe what I have right over here. And if you want to make use of that, then you can go ahead and look at the link in the description. If you like to contribute to my content, then feel free to scan the QR code or to use PayPal or anything else that you like in order for you to, well, help me grow my channel and to do a whole range of other things along the way as well. And yeah, so thank you all for being a part of today. Does anybody have any questions that you'd like to ask? Kau nak borak dengan aku dalam BM ke? Nak borak? Boleh. Sekarang ni aku tunggu je Grab. Sebab uh, 7:30 nanti. So kita ada dinner. So we're gonna be eating like a range of different things. It's gonna be like a nice, fun time right there. So many things from the chat. Wow, there's a whole discussion about like Indon and Lance would be like, I deal with government departments on a weekly basis. It is a requirement to converse bahasa Malaysia with them. Okay, what? Okay, good. I mean like kalau you memang bekerja dalam bidang kerajaan tu, so saya rasa memang you kenalah fasih sedikit dalam apa proses komunikasi tu dalam BM, tapi tak semestinya in many cases actually, like if I go over to like a lot of different places, right, so like I will actually be able to speak with people in English, tapi mungkin yang department yang kau hubungi tu, so diorang memang ada individu kan yang sentiasa berkomunikasi dalam BM. Tapi saya rasa like it really depends, right? Like if you are really like say talking to like say minister level ke or like something else of that nature, then it's like their PA, secretary or whatever have you. They are probably gonna speak to you in English. That's just like my personal observation lah. So like mungkin you ada perbezaan pendapat ke or anything else. I don't know. Like that is just what it is. Starry Jet, just join. Context, please. Yeah, so like you're eventually gonna see like this little thing right here. It's a long essay which I just wrote by voice. And yeah, it's not edited just yet, but you can actually see right here. If you want, then you can go ahead and screenshot it. My grab is about 8 minutes away. Oh shit, I'm probably gonna be late. But it's okay. It is what it is. I wrote this very, very, very long thing. Anyway, so what do we have right here? Is this guy actually canceling on me right now? Oh god, okay. You know what? I need to cancel this booking. Shit. Okay, you know what? I need to like, yeah, I need to actually like cancel this right now. I need to actually like get a better driver who can actually like send me over to like where I'm supposed to go. Anybody have any questions, by the way? Like, by the way, thank you for like voting. 66 votes for all of you at the moment. And that is a nice occasion to take a screenshot. Great. Okay, cool. Anyway, so selamat malam. So like for those of you out there who are soon to celebrate Chinese New Year, so happy CNY, sepoops, bros sepoops, sis sepoops, mats, minas, and thambis. And yeah, my standard issue, I don't know, one by one gentlemen friends out there who are being cool out there. So like you may like this channel, you may not like this channel, but whatever it is, thank you for watching. You spend your time, you will never get it back, and you have sacrificed your life for me. So whatever your opinion it is, um yeah, leave it down in the comments by all means. Live stream's probably going to be processed a little bit later on, but anyway, so ciao, ciao, bye.